Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this, which is episode 4 of the Tales of Escuria. Thank you for coming to join us again today. Uh, just to let everyone know, in case you didn't already, if this is your first time joining us, this campaign is in association with Horsham Gamers. We're a local group. We comprise members from all around the Horsham and kind of the extended area. And we have everything from D&D and board games to digital stuff, Overwatch, esports, anything that you can think of that's to do with gaming. You can come and find us on Facebook, search for Horsham Gamers, and you can join our Discord and come and have a chat with us. And we'd love to find more people and get them more involved in gaming. Okay, that's all of that out the way up front. So let's dive right into episode number 4. We start inside a fairly well furnished room. There's a large number of bookcases, and there's various different scrolls which have been placed into holders on the wall. There's a few green burning lamps which are lighting up the room in a very pale green shade, and standing at a table rather than sitting, we see rushing hooves. Please describe yourself.
Hello there, I'm Rushing Hooves. I am a centaur. I was orphaned at a young age, only to be brought in by the care of someone whose name I can't remember at the moment. Though of course I can't really remember their name.
Okay. What do you look like?
I'm sorry, I'm a white centaur. I've got my white mane on my head. It goes right the way down my back from my head. I have hooves, which I used to run around. I'm about 7 foot tall, weigh about half a ton.
Okay. So there are a few people here in the room, a few people who are studying various different documents. There's a small gnome who's perched, basically sat on top of one of the desks, surrounded by several different books piled high around them, to the point where you can basically just see like their nose and the tips of their ears poking up over the top of these books. And laid out in front of you is a scroll that you are very familiar with. It is the scroll that was gifted to you when you left your monastery.
Of course. How could I forget the tome of bashing? For it is a large scroll encased in a sort of wood. It doesn't really say much, but it's very good for bashing people over the head with. Though, of course, I'm not the best reader. I'm also not truly that intelligent. Though sometimes I feel like my awareness of this is.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, you're in the midst of having a look at the symbol which is inscribed on the scroll, as you often do from time to time, when there is a extremely loud sound from nearby. You hear almost like a thundering crash, followed by a kind of rolling shockwave that you more feel than you hear. Um, Instantly, several different tomes are shaken off the shelves, and the scroll that is currently sat on the desk starts to rock back and forth in its holder. What do you do?
I'm going to pick it up and open it, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. So you open up the scroll and you see the familiar draconic sigil that you've studied over and over again. Everything seems to be the same with the scroll, but you can see now around you that there's dust which has been shaken down from the roofs, and you can tell that there's been what seems to be a significant explosion, and you can still hear kind of lightning in the distance.
Yeah, I pick up the scroll and I ride on up and out of there.
Okay. Yeah, as you're leaving the archive where you've been studying, you see that there's a very large number of most of the people inside the archive. A couple of kind of gone for cover underneath the desk. You see the gnome that I previously mentioned is basically hiding underneath the desk and holding up a book like above his head, kind of like a hat, in an attempt to protect himself. Um, a few of them have kind of rushed towards the doorway to try and get out, as you have. Um, Specifically, there's one that's fumbling with the door, trying to get it open as you approach. What do you do?
I'm gonna kick that door down.
Okay. I guess make a hoof attack for me, please.
So you like me to roll to
Yeah, if you just okay.
believe me?
Yeah. Technically, yes, doors do have an AC, but you've hit it. So on your character sheet, there should be uh, under your attacks there should be hooves.
Yep.
Um, so if you click that,
+3, so
yeah, okay. So yeah, basically as this
oh yeah.
very kind of uh, yeah, that's fine. I'll take the rolls that you did earlier, but yeah, in future you can just click on the thing and it'll do it for you.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, as there's a kind of elderly drow man who's got like a series of keys on a little keychain, and he's like desperately trying to like shake the door and trying various different keys. You just rush up behind him and basically obliterate the door with your hoof. It comes like part of it comes flying off at the hinge, and basically like the lower portion of it is no longer there. The upper portion of it is there, but it's like barely hanging on. But you can very easily kind of you'll have to duck a little bit because you're a bit too tall for most doors, but you can pretty easily make your way out through this doorway now.
Well, I guess all the gnomes have run through there then. So I'm gonna go on after them.
Okay. Um, as you emerge outwards into the street around you, um, you can immediately see what was the cause of this explosion. Um, or at least what you can see is large pillars of black smoke which are rising up, and accompanying them, um, it looks like lightning strikes in the same direction, but you know that because there is no sky above you, there's only more ground. The lightning cannot possibly be actually striking down here. Um, make an Arcana check for me, please. 13. Okay. Um, yeah, you can definitely tell that this lightning is of a magical kind. You can tell this mainly through logic. You can tell that it couldn't possibly have struck because there's no sky, and you can see that there's kind of a slight purplish tinge to the lightning, but you can't tell very much more. Um, so at this point, there are various different people who are trying to rush away from it in the opposite direction. And there seems to be a fair few people, including a few kind of city guards, who are rushing more towards it. Which way are you going to go?
I'm gonna go chase after the city guards.
Okay. Yeah. As you do so, um, it's very difficult to make your way through this torrent of people because although you can see the kind of clear paths ahead of you, you're a fair amount taller than most people. There's kind of like a sea of them that keep scurrying around, getting in your way. It's difficult to get kind of traction going against the crowd. Um, Let me just see for a second. Um, give me a uh, give me a wisdom check, please. 12. Okay. It's incredibly difficult for you to see around you a clearer way other than just kind of wading your way through the crowds. Um, and it takes you a good couple of minutes. By the time you've kind of got to one of the there are a few sections in the city where there's checkpoints of a kind, gates for guard postings and such. By the time you make your way to the nearest one of them, which would lead you in the direction of the explosion, which is up in the blade pit, um, there aren't any guards in sight anymore. The guard post is empty, and in all of the time that you spent in Sakani, you have never seen a guard post empty. Um, so yeah, you're able to continue on through, um, and as you make your way through this blade pit, sorry, through the guard post, um, can you give me a perception check, please? Ooh. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm not very bright.
yeah, you see the guard post ahead of you. You see your way through, and you just for once around this bit, there doesn't seem to be any kind of um, the crowd seems to have dissipated because pretty much everyone's running in the opposite direction. Um, as you run through this guard post, um, there's a sudden kind of uh, there's a sudden sound which kind of equates to some rope being pulled taut, and as you pass through the gateway, um, you are immediately tripped, and you're down kind of like on your side. Um, so after, at this point, you see um, three quite burly looking commoners, um, two of which were holding kind of the rope on either side, um, approaching, and another one who's coming kind of from a hiding spot nearby. They step out, and they've both got um, kind of very mean looking clubs with them. Um, one of them approaches and is just like, "Looks like we caught ourselves a lively one, boys." Ooh, and he's got valuables with him, and then reaches up and he tries to grab the scroll which you have on you. What do you do?
I'd like to pull the scroll, snatch the scroll back from his hand. It's mine.
Okay. Currently you are prone, so um, give me a strength check, and I'll do it with disadvantage.
Sorry. I can't.
Ooh, 3. Yeah, in your prone state, you're used to being able to kind of leverage the strength of your lower half, your equine half, to kind of put some strength behind your movements, but you don't have much. You don't use your arms as often.
I'm a bit
So
weak.
yeah, a little bit weak. Kind of on your side, kind of T-Rexing at the moment, trying to get back up. You're able to hold on to the scroll for just a second, but you don't have a decent enough grasp on it, and he manages to pull it away from you. Um, and they seem to be kind of examining it. Um, so
Am I
yeah,
able to reach one of my darts?
sure. Uh, I'm going to count this as a surprise round. So I want you to roll initiative for me, please. Initiative. Okay. Me turn, and your initiative was 20. Okay. And let me just sending. Okay. So because it's a surprise round, you get to attack them, and they don't get to attack back just yet. You actually get 2 attacks in a row because you're at the top of the round. So yeah, can you make a dart attack for me, please? And hang on, I'll just move us over to um, the battle map for a second. Okay. And then if you click on the word dart in the chat box, it'll roll the damage for you. That definitely hits. 4 piercing damage. So which one are you attacking?
Attacking the one that's snatched the scroll off me.
Okay. So you attack this one. Yeah. You basically instantly kill this person. How do you do that with your dart?
Straight through their head.
Straight through the head.
Yeah.
Nice.
Out the other
So,
side. Clean kill. You know.
yeah. The dart gets launched at an extremely high speed and passes basically through one of their eyes and then out the back of their skull, and it's kind of embedded itself in a piece of wall just behind them. But yeah, they just instantly dead, and uh, they kind of stay standing for a second after the dart has gone through, and then just slump forwards, and the scroll is on the ground and kind of rolling along the ground in front of you. You get one more. You basically get one more turn before the others are going to react. Um, bear in mind you're still lying prone on the ground at this point. What do you want to do?
There's I guess trying to get up again is gonna be my main action.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, you can use your movement action to get back up again, and then you still have an attack action and a bonus action.
Cool. Right. Well, I guess I'm gonna throw another one of my darts at them.
24 definitely hits. Which one are you going to attack?
I'm gonna attack the one straight in front of me.
Straight in front of you. Okay. If you'd roll the damage on it for me.
Yeah.
7. Okay. Yeah. It, again with this one, it's an instant kill. Do you want to do the same, just like straight through the head?
This one I don't think I really want to kill this guy. I just want to seriously injure him. Put it like straight through one of his legs, blow one of his legs off. He's just a bit
Nice.
de-legged.
A bit de-legged.
Yeah.
Yeah. You do a proper Black Knight in the Holy Grail on him. One of the legs just like the dart kind of comes in the upper thigh, and as it rips through, it just kind of takes most of the leg below the knee with it, and the guy just like falls to the ground. He's bleeding out, but like he's still alive, and he is howling in pain. At this point, from round the back of the guard post, one of the guards comes out, and it is now his turn. So what he can see is one dead body on the floor, another one who's just had his leg torn off and is basically incapacitated. You and a very, very scared and angry looking dude with a large club. Um, I'm gonna make an intelligence check for him. For oof. Uh, so yeah, this guy has no idea who is actually like at fault in this situation. He just comes around and sees this kind of like basically bloodbath unfolding, um, and so he just kind of like looks back and forth between you and the other guy who's still standing. He's just like, what? Huh? What? Stop that! And he's going to advance as far as he can, but he's just yelling at you both to stop. Okay, so he's got to there now, and he's got kind of a spear in one of his hands, um, and he's kind of like moving back and forth between you, but he's not going to do anything else. Um, so that brings it to this guy, and he's not entirely sure what to do at this point. Um, but then kind of he looks down at his one of his dead compatriots and the other bleeding out compatriot, and basically he doesn't really care anymore. He's kind of beyond caring for his own life. He just wants to get some revenge. So uh, he's going to approach you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. And he is going to make an attack on you. 14. What's your armor class?
I believe it's 13.
Ooh, just hits. Okay, let's see what damage we get. Only 1. So he runs up to you and getting out, kind of like reeling his club over his head. He like leaps up and then like tries to bring it like cracking down, and he brings it down on like the small of your horse back, and basically it just kind of lands and just like thud, and nothing happens. Like you barely move.
What a feeble man.
Mm. So yeah, you've taken 1 bludgeoning damage, but that's it. And realizing that you're just unmoved by this, you see him like standing like pretty much like just slightly off to the side of you, in front of you, looking at like where he'd just hit, and then he like looks up at you with this look in his eyes that is somewhere between "oh no" and "I'm sorry." And now it's your turn.
I'd like to kick him with my hooves.
Make a hoof attack for me, please. Okay, yeah, that definitely hits. Oof. Yeah. You more than kill this guy. Like, you've dealt him twice his total health. You basically
He's dead.
pulverized this guy.
Alright.
So yeah. What do you do with your hoof attack?
I reckon my hoof's just gone straight through his chest, hasn't it, really?
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
just punch straight through the other side, and the guy just falls down dead, right in front of you. Um. So yeah, your scroll is still kind of rolling along the ground, uh, just kind of a couple feet away from you. And it's the guard's turn, and he is still going to approach. He's now seen you like murder like 2 people. Um. So let me see.
Forgot he was watching.
Okay.
My rage.
You're not a very smart tactician,
No.
as fighters go. Um. So yeah, the guard gets in that close, and he's got his spear raised in front of you, and he's gonna go for a spear attack when it loads. Give me a second. Yeah, he's gonna go for two-handed spear attack on you. Oof.
Ooh,
He does.
ouch.
He does 8 piercing damage to you. The spear kind of um, lands in kind of the side of the horse portion of your body and gets driven in a little bit. And he's able to like with a bit of effort pull it back out again. But there's the kind of hefty bleeding wound in the side of your body. Um, and while you do that, he's just like, you must cease immediately. You need to stop, and you need to. And you can tell he's about to say like lie down on the ground, and then he's like, kneel down on the. Just stop, please. What do you do? It's your turn.
Can I grab my scroll and run away?
Yeah, sure. Um, so you're gonna you'll have one of your actions is going to be to pick up the scroll, and then you'll have your normal movement for the rest of the round. Um, so you'll be able to move 40 feet. Um, do you want to head kind of towards the continue heading towards the blade pit, the explosion?
Well, which way does the guard come from?
He came from that direction.
How many feet is square?
Okay, so each of the squares is 5 feet, so you'll be able to move eight squares.
Can I
Oh,
move diagonally?
you can move diagonally. Oh, I will tell you, you are currently within range of him, so if you attempt to move, he will get an attack of opportunity on you unless you use one of your actions to disengage.
Which means I've
Uh,
got to have an action to run away with.
yeah, you'd be able to. Um, basically, you'd be able to run, but you'd have to leave the scroll behind, or you have to pick up the scroll, and then next turn you'll be able to run.
I'm just going to pick up the scroll and calm down then. I guess I
Okay.
can't run away.
Okay. So yeah, you pick up the scroll, um, and he's still kind of holding the spear out towards you. Um, and I'm gonna make a quick check for him. Um, do you attempt to say anything to kind of convince him that you're not fighting, or do you just kind of stop?
I tell him that they nicked my scroll and that they were going to kill me. So I
Okay.
killed them. But I didn't really mean
Uh,
to kill them. I just got big, strong hooves. I can't help it sometimes.
okay. Make a. Give me a second. Let me see. Sorry, Roll20 is being a bit difficult for me today. It's taking a little while to load bits. Make a persuasion check for me, please.
Not the most persuasive individual.
10. I'll make an intelligence check for him. 13. So, in your head, you have like a perfectly like like a perfectly composed response to be like, officer, this is the situation, this is what happened. But what comes out of your like mouth when you're trying to say it is like scroll, ground, hit, hooves, bad. And he just looks at you like, what? But he can kind of just about tell that you're trying to explain what was happening, and he can tell that you're not currently trying to attack him. He's still kind of holding you at spear's length, but he's not going to attack you or anything at the moment. Um, when you kind of reach down to grab the scroll, he kind of like he moves the spear down with it to try and kind of like block you grabbing it and be like, "Hey, hey, leave that where it is. Leave it where it is." What do you do?
Hmm. Uh, I'm just going to tell him that it's very precious to me, but I'm not going to fight him. I have to have it back, but I won't pick it up unless he lets me.
Okay. Yeah, you're able to communicate that well enough. Um, at this point, just kind of um, in the background, we just hear one guy going like, "My leg, my leg," and you see the guard kind of like shift over towards him. He's just like, uh, uh, hmm, uh, I, I will get you medical attention in due time, citizen. Be calm." And then kind of like shifting the spear back to you is just like, "Okay, well, to get this all cleared up, we're gonna have to take you down to the warden, and they're going to have to speak to you about what happened today." And you can see him kind of like panikedly looking around and then looking towards like this explosion that's happened, and kind of you can see like the cogs turning in his head, just like, what do I need to do right now? What's what's more important right now? I am gonna make a check for him. Uh, Come on, roll 20. Come on. Okay. Um, at this point, like he's trying to put on a brave face, but he kind of just lets the spear kind of like fall down to his side, and he's just like, I don't know. I don't, I don't. And he's like looking at you and looking at the looking at the scroll on the ground. He takes a quick look at like the dead bodies, and he's just like,
Right.
"Tell me honestly in this moment, did they attack you first?"
I'd like to tell him that they set up a tripwire as I was trying to investigate this here big explosion. I reckon they might have done it.
Uh, okay. Make another persuasion check for me, please. Okay, yeah. In that moment, like you've finally managed to kind of calm down. You've managed to, uh, as your mother was always trying to tell you, you've managed to find the balance to be able to get to the truth, and you're able to tell him very very plainly that yes, they set up a tripwire, and you suspect that they might be the people who are involved in the explosion as well. And you can see this guard who's looking more and more like a broken man by the second, and he just says, "Okay, I believe you. The warden's going to be far too busy for this anyway. Look, just go. Just be on your way, and I won't say anything if you don't. Okay?
All right. I'll be on my way then.
Okay." He
I'll
nods, and he finally
pick up.
lowers the spear properly, and goes to like looking at the guy who's bleeding out, and he goes and grabs like a bandage from his side, and goes up to the guy and starts trying to kind of tourniquet his leg. But yeah.
I'd like to get my scroll and I'll go and have a look at that explosion, whatever that was.
Okay. Yeah. as you kind of set off first at a trot and then going into a full gallop in the direction of the explosion, um, the camera kind of leaves you behind, um, and we will head over to um, the Marivo Manor. So, um, at this point, right, um, Idris, you are being led upstairs with Ralkini in tow, um, and you're going to speak to Lady Selwyn. You also have Jenkins with you, I assume. Um,
Of course.
of course.
Jenkins, where are you? Come here. Come with me.
He immediately like kind of like when a kid like runs to try and catch up with the parent, just kind of like runs up alongside you and then is kind of standing at your side and is just like, "Of course, my lady, of course."
We have to get you some proper clothes. We will have to look for a place where we can get you proper clothes. You don't look like somebody who serves Dolara.
And he kind of like he looks down at his little kind of the armor that he was given as a guard, and he looks down at the little kind of uh cloth undershirt that he's wearing. He's just like, I mean, I don't think it's too bad, but
No,
whatever
but
you
it's
say.
not natural enough. We need some flowers on your armor, and you need some natural colored clothes. So we will have to look for somebody who can make that.
Okay, whatever you say.
Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. Just trust.
Of course I do. Of course. Um, as you approach the top of the stairs, um, leading in towards Lady Selwyn's office, um, you see that she is in the middle of conducting a very kind of tense conversation uh, between her and an elderly looking man. He's got quite kind of gnarled and wrinkled fingers. He's wearing uh, a fairly dark coloured hood and cloak. Um, the hood is currently down on his shoulders, and they both have a very tense and concerned look on their faces, very hurried back and forth. And they appear to be speaking in um, a language that I don't think any of you speak. Can uh, oh, what would that check be? Give me a second. Um, uh, Idris, could you give me an intelligence check, please?
I can try. Give me a second. I just click on it, right?
Yeah. 7. Okay. You can tell that it's a language that they are speaking. You have no idea what the language is.
Mm-hmm.
But they appear to be kind of very, very hurriedly talking back and forth in whispered and hushed tones. And then, as you actually approach the doorway in the top of the stairs, they immediately stop, and she kind of waves a hand, and he appears to bow slightly and then step backwards as you enter the room. And she's as you enter, she's just like, ah, so these are the intruders that have been caught in this courtyard. Well,
Caught. Interesting.
did I
It's
give you
not like
permission to speak, prisoner?
Oh, okay, I see. Look, I'm not here to get in trouble. I just wanted to see my friend.
It's a real shame that you're not here to be in trouble, because you seem to have managed to land yourself in a fair amount of it.
It's
You
just
can't
because
just
your stuff
trespass
is not
wherever you wish.
intelligent enough. It's not my problem that your stuff is not intelligent enough. Next time, make better choices. I came here, I told them I'm not here to make trouble.
At this point, Jenkins kind of gives you a pat on the arm. He's just like, if you would allow me. And then he steps in front of you and is just like, you will unhand my lady at once.
Nice. Thank you. That's good, Jenkins.
I'm gonna give him a let's do a persuasion check for Jenkins with disadvantage.
It's okay. It's okay.
3, okay. Yeah. When he says this, there's just this awkward stony silence for a couple of seconds, and then
I will put my hand on his shoulder and say, "Look, Jenkins, that's how you do it." I take out my longsword and I add radiance energy to it, and I say, "Look, lady, I told you where I came here from. If you call me prisoner once more, I will take this place into pieces. I'm not here to play."
she I'd say give me an intimidation check for that one.
Yeah, of course. Intimidation.
Okay. Yeah. So you when you do this, the room kind of fills with this shining radiant light, and the combination of your stern words and the fact that this light appears to be actually causing her physical pain. Selwyn kind of like holds her hand in front of her eyes and just says, "All right, stop it."
Who gave you permission to speak?
This is still my household.
Let's see how long this house will stand if you treat me like that. I didn't came here to get in trouble, and you're just acting like I would be a bad person. I don't like this.
It would be a fair assumption to make, considering that you broke into my house.
No. I knocked. I asked the guards, and they were too stupid to understand me. I told them I don't want to hurt them. They actually tried to trick me.
She looks at Jenkins, who is still kind of looking at you in awe again, and is just like, yes, perhaps I could use with my staff being a little more intelligent in future. Still,
Would be great. I put when she says that, I put back my great sword.
okay.
I calmed down slowly because she seems to recognize that she made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
If don't, I will burn this place down.
Okay. At this point, she seems to notice Ralkini, who's kind of timidly standing behind you, and she gives she gives a little lean to have a look at him, and then she looks over towards the older gentleman, who is still standing just in one of the further corners of the room, and she kind of raises an eyebrow at him, and he nods, and then she looks back towards and says, "Well, some of my sources tell me that my son got involved in some kind of chase. Give me a second. Thomas, would you go and fetch Elland for me? I need to have a word with him." And the older gentleman just gives a nod and then walks out the room behind you to go and fetch Elland. Elland, where are you at this point?
I think I was right out of the door of the library or with my brother.
Yes, you'd stormed out of the library. So yeah, as just after you've done that, we'll say this happens at pretty much the same time. You've stormed out of the library, and you know that your brother had just sent a letter, but you're not sure who to or what it said. All you know is that he now very much regrets having sent it. And while you have all of these kind of these worries, these conflicting emotions going through your head, you see one of the family servants and an assistant to your mother, one of her clerks, walk down the stairs, and spot you and say, Master Elland, your mother requires your presence upstairs in her office if you can spare the time.
Okay. What does she want?
I believe she wants to have a word with you concerning.
Okay. Don't worry, I'll go there.
Very good, very good. And he kind of he waits on the stairway for you to climb up so that he can follow behind.
Yeah, I just.
Okay, cool. So yeah, you enter your mother's office, and for you this has a kind of you have many not so fond memories of being called into your mother's office for various different reasons. Usually her to tell you off for something you've been doing and how shameful it is and blah blah blah. But you get a real sense as you're walking up these stairs this time. It feels kind of like being a child again, being called into your mother's office so that she can tell you off. There's a very stern atmosphere to it. But yeah, when you walk in, you can see Ralkini, and you can see this mysterious woman who happened to be in your house just now, standing at the top of the stairs. Well, in the office, you can see their backs kind of turned to you, and you can see that your mother who is facing the doorway.
Has she seen me?
Yeah, she'll be able to see you, and she'll be kind of waiting, so she'll be like looking after to see when you arrive. So yeah, she sees you as you kind of walk up the stairs.
So I just go there.
Okay,
I present myself like, here I am, Your Majesty.
Yeah, you can see her. Where normally you would expect this to be a kind of the beginning of a back and forth where she'd be like a kind of playful insulting that goes on between you. Normally that's what would happen at this point, but she doesn't rise to you being kind of facetious. She doesn't respond to you being rude particularly. She's just like, well, from what I can hear, all this business with the Blade Pit has been caused, it sounds like, by a member of House Koreth. And I hear that you were chased away from the Blade Pit, accompanied by this gentleman here. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this gentleman here is from House Koreth as well? And Ralkini just kind of awkwardly, like, tugs at his collar a bit and is just like, yep, that's correct, yeah. And she says, well, it would seem that to an outside eye, you may be connected to this whole situation that's going on. Now, I am not saying that I personally believe that. Trust me, I know that you are foolish, misguided, but you are no dissident, my boy. I simply need to know the truth of what happened. Tell me as much information as you can.
Okay, so you want the truth, but what can we get from it? Please, with my story, will you let me, and I won't hear more stuff about deal, right?
Sorry, what was that?
What we can actually get from the story you want, all this information. I mean, got us trapped in here, so thing as I know this. but effectively we can get something from it. So, what will you give us, or at least what will you give me?
If you give me the absolute truth of what happened, if you tell me plainly, I will know what the situation is that we need to deal with. I will know how to deal with it accordingly. And more importantly, if you tell me the truth, and I will know if you tell me the truth, I can offer the official protection of House Morevo to you and to your compatriots. Well,
To me, if it's to me alone, it's all right. Well, and as well, him, he's nice. Okay, so do you want the truth? I explain the story, or
yeah,
assume
yeah, yeah.
that's okay? Yeah. We went with Keda to the blade pit just to see like another regular fight there. It was carried out by a lizard man, another man that we weren't supposed to know that he was from House Corret, and then he appeared and he just dodged the lizard man, like disappearing, and he just made a lightning appear, just kill him in with a magic strike or something. I don't know.
Lightning, you say?
Yes, well, lightning. I know that sounds strange right here, but it's lightning, and I'm sure. And
Interesting. You can see that she's taking notes on a piece of paper, and she's looking down at what she's writing, but she's nodding to kind of indicate like yes, keep going, keep going.
The only thing I can say about this man you have in here is that he was at the in the audience this show with us, and we suddenly of life. So I don't think that these men know what's going on with this. Suddenly, something exploded right on the other side of the blade pit, and we run. We just ran away. Coming here, we got separated. Suddenly went away again inside our house, and ran with Keida, and we just arrived here. And when we were just discussing with, they appeared library, this man and this shiny, and all what I know.
So yeah, as you finish saying that, can you give me a persuasion check with advantage, please?
Did I click something for the advantage? Or?
No, just click it, and then I'll the higher of the two numbers. 12. Okay. So she's looking at you, and she's kind of turning things over in her mind. Give me a second. Yeah. One of her desk drawers, and she pulls out another piece of paper, and she starts comparing between the two pieces of paper. And after about 15 seconds or so, she looks up and she says, "Honesty, my son." This matches the version which I. Sorry about needing to take this kind of precaution, but sometimes it helps to get multiple viewpoints on a situation to ascertain what the exact truth is. So thank you for your honesty. I am convinced that none of you are part of what happened at the Blade Pit. And as such, I think that I would want to extend the full cooperation of House Morevo in ensuring that you are not further attacked. There is a small problem, however. Thomas, could you? And he just goes, of course, my lady. And then he reaches into his cloak and he pulls out a sheet of paper, um, and she rolls it out and puts it on the desk, kind of facing towards you so you can see. And basically, it's an arrest warrant, and the arrest warrant is for people matching the description of basically Ellen Ralkini and Kader. And it's been signed and officiated by the Forge Master and the Sword Warden. So basically, it's the official stance of the city at this point that you are to be hunted down and arrested.
Okay.
As you can see, unfortunately, the guards of the city are not quite as thorough in their investigations as I would like. They have come to the conclusion, perhaps understandably, that you are involved. And I think that the crowd outside may be just about getting wind of this knowledge now.
I step in. I step forward. I look at her, really mad. I'm really mad now because she's telling that to her son. And now she made her really mad. She will look at her and I would say, what's wrong with you? Do you think I would, me, a great paladin, would help somebody who's guilty blowing up a place and risking the life of 100 people? Don't you think? Don't you think it's a bit stupid from all of you? Why I have the feeling in this whole house I'm the only one who's intelligent? I saw not these guys were the problem. I saw some shady people doing this whole thing. Nobody else recognized it because everybody's stupid as hell. And now I'm mad.
Oh.
Now I'm really mad.
It's every day.
So let it go. Let it go. Look for the right people. Leave your son be. How can you be? And she holds her head.
This point says, you completely misunderstand what I'm saying. I
Do
know
I?
that you are innocent. I know they are innocent, and I'm not about to hand over my own son for a crime he has not committed. I am merely pointing out.
Them.
I am merely pointing out that in this city, I have no jurisdiction. I have no control over what they, as the law, say. And currently, they have sent out these documents to many places saying that you are to be sought out. And I would direct you to this little bit at the bottom. And she points to right at the bottom, it says, reward offered, dead or alive.
Oh, that's no problem. That's absolutely no problem. If they try to kill anybody around, well, they will have a problem, but it's not our problem.
I just like grab Idris and what's your plan for us?
Well, at present, you may notice that Kader is not here. I have sent her out. She is covert. She will be fine. Do not worry. I have sent her to try and find us a secure way out of the city. One where we may not be seen, and one that may be able to get us safely back to Snow Harbor so that When we arrive there, I will be able to explain the case in full to the council, and I can have your names cleared. However, you know what these people are like, House Varin. Every problem can be solved by stabbing it to death.
Oh,
They would
oh,
much sooner kill
okay.
you than actually find out who did it. So we need
They
to be
can
careful
try.
how we proceed.
I don't think they can catch me with all those people running around like chickens. But
I would agree. At present, the amount of chaos may be working to our favor. However, soon things will begin to calm down. Soon order will begin to be established again. And when it is, then we may be too late. Time is of the essence, and we need to capitalize on all this chaos so that we can escape safely.
okay, as much as I don't like you, sorry, mom, you know this.
I do.
I really like keeping with my life. So use your help this time.
You can see her looking like
I'm not
visibly
sure.
annoyed at
What is
everything
your
you are
plan?
saying and just being like, yes, yes, okay, yes, you can use my help. I just like she has that look on her face that you do see when it's like, I do actually care if you live or die. Just you annoy the hell out of me.
Okay, fair enough.
So what do you suggest? What is your way to solve the problem? You want to run away. Don't face it.
I want to escape now so that I will be able to explain the case in full in Snow Harbor. House Varen's justice system is not particularly just. Even if we were able to somehow convince them to take you in and not immediately murder you, there is a considerable likelihood that all of us, including now me and every member of the household for colluding with you, would just be executed.
Hmm.
It makes no sense for us to remain here and attempt to fight it on legal grounds. When
But that's
if we
the
are to
only
go,
way. The real way is the right way, isn't it? We can't
indeed,
just run away and kill people. We have to fight the fight here, right now.
Wait. Relax. We all want to live in a peaceful manner.
Yeah, but
So,
they want to kill you. They are not peaceful.
so can we
Yeah, but
just
we can teach them, please.
the last thing
gather?
we need is more bloodshed right now. If we can make it to Snow Harbor, then I can talk to the official council and we can resolve this without need of further bloodshed. We can clear our names and we can ensure our safety.
If you
If we are
say
to
so.
stay here and fight it directly, we will most certainly die.
If we can teach them some manners in another way, I'm also happy with it. But you have to guarantee it.
I give you my word.
I think we can trust her, Lady.
Shiny. Call me
Do, do I,
Shiny.
do I know your name? I don't remember.
I'm the great paladin of Dol Ara. That's how you call me, if you're not my
So,
friend.
yeah, I think we can trust her. And what's no blood spilling? I mean, ready to die.
I'm happy with that, but I don't like bad manners, so. Okay, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. If she says we can talk it out, then it's okay.
I mean, I honestly think that we should meet with Kate and see what she thinks about all of this.
So how get we out of here?
Kada shall be returning soon, I am sure. For now, I think you need to stay. How would I put this? I think we need to be discreet. I'm making sure that no one can enter here for now. I'm saying that I am involved in some important ambassadorial business, so we should not be getting any visitors. Stay away from the windows, and we wait for Kada to return, and she will be able to tell us more. Hopefully, she will return with a safe means of getting us out of the city.
I could just walk out here with Jen.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, you just walk out of the room, and as you do so, she continues talking for like in your direction for a little bit, and then it's just like, I thought she didn't like bad manners. Anyway,
I don't like her.
she looks over towards Ralkini specifically this time, and she says, "As for you, sir, I feel that it would be best if I could get contact within the consulate to House Korith, and I could arrange to have you discreetly transported back home to your own lands. There is a possibility that having you present in Snow Harbor may make things a little more difficult when we're arguing our case, and we can just as easily return you home and have you lay low for a while until your name is cleared. Does that suit well with you?" And he kind of he looks towards you, Elland, and then looks back towards her, and then when he looks back towards you, Elland, again, and just says, "Do you think I can trust her with this?"
I I think you can, but if you don't feel doing it, maybe you can just get rid of that stupid mask like a regular human being.
Like there's a moment when like you can tell, even though there's a mask there, that he's giving you this face, which is just like, "What did you just say?" And then he's just like, he shakes his head, so he's like, "No, I'm keeping the mask, thank you very much." And then he walks over to kind of stand in front of your mother's desk and nods his head respectfully and just says, "Myself and Noble House Korith, thank you very much for your assistance in this matter." And she nods, and she gives kind of like a smile, and looks up towards you, Ellen, just to be like, "Ah, see, this is nicer. This is good manners." Um, and then she kind of gestures towards Thomas and says, "Thomas, if you could take this man downstairs and contact the consulate for me." And he kind of nods, um, and Thomas whisks Ralkini away, which just leaves you and your mother in the room. Is there anything you want to say to her?
I'm just going to leave the room, but while leaving, and turn around and say, by the way, a little bit concerned about something. You know what's happening. Could you tell me him?
You're concerned about something.
Some letters being written by him.
Ah. Leave it with me. I'll investigate. See what I can find out.
Thank you so much. I didn't expect that from you, and I just turn around and leave the room.
Yeah, as you're leaving the room, you get this weird sense, and you're thinking, it's like there's a tragedy, there's a crisis, an extremely complicated situation, and you were trying to place a weird expression that your mother had when you were in that room, and you realize that this is the first time in a very long time your mother seems to be having fun. She seems to be enjoying this, for better or for worse.
Okay.
But yeah. And as you leave the room, I think we'll go to our break here. So it'll be about 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes at the most. Go and grab yourselves a drink, and we'll see you in a bit.
Okay. See you in a bit.
See you in a bit.
Yeah, fine.
Hello and welcome back to the second half of tonight's episode of Tales of Escuria. So we rejoin Gimbal and Vixen in a familiar pub called the Galloping Pig. The half-drow owner of it, Sindril, is currently stood behind the bar. There seem to be a few people who are in the wake of the attack seem to have made their way to various different drinking establishments. So he's in the middle of serving a fairly hulking orc who's sat at the bar, and is drinking a very oversized flagon of something. When in come Vixen and Gimbal. What do you guys do?
Well, just obviously just wave to the innkeeper to indicate that we want I want my usual table, and just sort of do a little sort of signal to him to indicate that we want a little bit of privacy, and just sort of point Vixen to where I normally sit in the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Please take a seat. This is the most comfortable table, and I've tried them all. And just walk over. And just as I walk over, say, just to what would you like, Vixen?
Oh, I think I'll have a tankard of mead.
2 meads it is then. Yeah, 2 meads. I'll just sort of 2 fingers up at him in a polite way, obviously, and say, 2 meads, please, barman, and just point over to the table and take a seat. And obviously let Vixen sit down first.
Oh, a gentleman.
So yeah, when you hold up your fingers for like 2 for the flagon of mead, Sindril like makes eye contact with you, and he reaches out from kind of under the bar and takes out a small glass and kind of taps it on the bar twice, which you know to be the signal for like, yeah, we're fine, you can talk about whatever here.
Cool.
No one's listening in.
Yeah, don't acknowledge it, but just sort of go and take a seat, and obviously let Vixen sit down, wait for the drink.
It's pretty quick. Within about 30 seconds or so, he brings over two tankards of mead, sets one down in front of you, sets one down in front of Vixen, and just kind of nods to her and just says, "Welcome, friend," and then walks back to the bar.
Yeah, just nod to him. So, Vixen, what brings you to Sakani then?
Oh, I was already here.
Oh, you're a resident of the city. Obviously, didn't manage to get much information from Hawk before. Obviously, I'm a casual visitor to the city, but I do travel a lot.
Where have you been?
Where haven't I been? I've been across many of the lands through Escuria, and I've been to many of the cities. But I act as a guide, shall we say, to those who want to travel through the lands, but maybe aren't so keen on people knowing where they're going or where they've come from.
Oh, it's interesting. I've never left the city. I mean, I came here as a young child, so it's really all I've known.
So there is a wide world out there, and obviously if the city itself starts getting uncomfortable, should we say, and you want to move out, want to explore, obviously there's so many different houses and areas.
Oh, I definitely want to explore. I've got my freedom now. I'm going to make the most of it.
Freedom is something that we all have. We're all given at birth, but unfortunately some people seem to want to take it away from us. Don't let us have it. And I try and facilitate and help people get that freedom back.
Well, my freedom was never a birthright.
Really?
I was born into slavery at a very young age. Was raised to be a cleric. It's all I know. I don't dislike it because I've never known any different. But I am interested to see what this world might have to offer.
May
So,
I ask which god you follow? Not which you were brought up to follow, which one you choose to follow?
oh, well, interesting. I was raised to follow Lolth. I'd never, in my teachings, been able to contact her or felt that I was ready to even aspire to any vague depiction of what she may have been. And recently, I actually spoke to her. I saw her. She seemed interested in me, I think might be the best way to put it. So yeah.
Interested you knew in what way?
I have no idea. I still have yet to figure that out myself. So we'll just see where it takes me. I think that's what she's looking out for.
Well, Hawk spoke for you, so that in itself is a good thing. Do you? I mean, do you wish to stay in the city? Do you wish to see what's out there?
I wish to see what's out there. I'd rather not stay in. I have no reason to now. I haven't yet figured out a goal in mind. I think at the moment it will just be go with the flow, see where it takes me.
I laugh. Going with the flow is so underrated these days. Too many people try and persuade you. You've got to do this. You've got to follow this path. You've got to do what your family says. You've got to do what your house says. There is so much more to life out there. There's so many different things to do, to explore, to experience. So if I can help just one more person experience outside their city, outside their house, outside their religion, then that in itself is an achievement.
I might not dabble too far outside of my religion. Speaking of which, how far are you willing to help? There might be times where the darkness whispers to me, I need to do something. What then?
You're nothing. You're nothing if not honest. Um, do you still follow love willingly?
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt.
Really?
That's all I've known. She shows an interest in me. I have a right. I have to follow her. I have to listen to what she might want.
Are you sure it's her?
Oh, yes.
There's so many different other powers out there that.
No, without a doubt, it's love.
Okay, because that seems to be a contradiction. You wish to explore, you wish to expand, you wish to experience, but you still follow she.
I do. She wishes me to choose my path, but at the same time, I know that she would not want me to stem away from her. Does that make sense?
To be frank, no.
Well, imagine a family traveling. A child wouldn't stray away from the mother, yet they're both still free.
What about when the child grows up?
I'm still got a lot of training ahead of me. I don't think I'm quite there yet.
Maybe.
This is me striking out on my own, but I would still need the guidance.
Well, from my experience, love does not encourage people to strike out on their own, to explore, to see what is out there. She demands obedience. She demands those to do as she wishes. She demands the survival of the fittest.
I think this is why I'm so curious as to how she finds it interesting for me going this way.
Well, I can act as a guide. I do have ways to travel that aren't what we would call the official paths. That could be within the city to find somewhere safe to stay and find out what your path is, or that could be somewhere outside of the city. It could be traveling to. I mean, would it even of interest to go to the ascendancy, for example. That is something that I myself can't take you, but I can set you on that path if that was of something of interest.
As you are having this conversation, at this point, Sindrel comes back around the bar, and even though there is still a fair amount of mead, you're probably about halfway through your flagons at this point. Even though there's still about half left, he comes over and he collects them both and puts them on a tray, and he gives you a fairly stern look, Gimbal, which you know to mean it's not particularly safe to be here anymore. And he kind of looks over towards the door, and you can see that there's a couple guards of the city who have walked in, both of whom look very haggard and tired. One of them taking off their helmet and kind of holding it under their arm, and the other one just kind of walking over towards the bar and slumping onto it. And he just kind of um, he taps two fingers on your shoulder to let you know just
Yeah.
it might be a good time to head back to Hawk now.
I acknowledge him and I sort of look at Vixen. I'll just ask as he walks off. I look at Vixen, just sort of throw my eyes just towards them and then straight back to sort of to try and let her sort of give an indication they're there, but that not. I don't want to turn my head. Don't want to actually make an active movement.
Okay. Give me a stealth check, please.
Let's have a look. Oh, well, I got stealth. Let's have a look.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, that'll do me.
that's good. So yeah, you're able to very subtly kind of indicate to Vixen that maybe this conversation is not best to be had right now. Vixen, can you make a perception check for me, please?
Oh, okay. Should be all right. Oh,
9.
Oops.
So you see him looking kind of shifty, but you haven't quite twigged exactly what's going on right now. So as far as you know, you were in the middle of your pint, and then it's just been picked up and is about to be taken away from you. What do you do?
Hey, bring me my mead. Why are you taking it away?
Kick her in the shins.
Ow!
Not hard, obviously, just as a more shut up sort of indication.
Okay. At this point, the guard, which has kind of his helmet tucked underneath his arm, he's a human, and he has like kind of shoulder length, kind of golden hair. He strides over towards you, and in his kind of best Prince Charming impression is just like, is there any problem which seems to be going on here? Anything that I can possibly help with?
No, of course not. No, we're all very comfortable here. I think the lady here was not realising that she'd finished the drink, and the barman kindly replaced the drink. That was all.
I growl under my teeth.
Give me a persuasion check, please, Gimbal.
Oh, not a skill I'm renowned for. Oh dear.
Ooh.
Oh. Oh, okay.
So the combination of you can see that even though it's quite often used as a meeting place, Sindrel is looking a bit shifty. There's a bit too much attention going on. That looks a little bit suspicious. And then suddenly to have a very pleasant looking young woman be growling. He seems to have. He seems a little unconvinced by your assertion that everything is just fine. So he looks towards Sindrel and says, "Is this the case? Did you take away this lady's drink before it was completely done?" And Sindrel says, "No," and then looks down at the half empty cup and then says, "Well, yes, but I I merely made a mistake, and I will happily replace the full drink for free, officer." And he nods and says, "Yes, see that you do." And then he picks up one of the seats and kind of does that thing where he puts the seat backwards and then like strides it and like sits down at the table with the two of you and just says, "Well, I'm sorry that he was so rude just then. You know, so some of these barmen think they can cut back on the prices a bit by waiting until you're a little bit drunk and then trying to subtly take your drinks away. But good to see that you're quick on the draw there, Miss. What's your name?
Vixen.
Vixen. What a wonderful name. I myself am called Victor. Pleasure to meet you. And he extends like a hand towards you.
I shake it.
Mm-hmm. After that, he turns towards you, Gimbal, and says, Now, as for you, sir, I would like to point out, first of all, I am currently off duty, so you have nothing to worry about from me. However, I would recommend in future that lying to a member of the city guard is a considerable offence and will be punished accordingly.
I do apologise. It was purely my mistake. I had finished my drink and I presume the lady here had finished hers. It was an honest mistake. I do apologise.
Give me another persuasion check there.
How's combat work? Okay.
It's a draw, and draws go in the favour of the players.
Close.
So, yeah, there's this quick moment when there's kind of there's a steely glare between the two of you, kind of kind of your two wills kind of facing off against one another. And there's this moment where in this stare you get this sense when he's like, I'm not entirely sure I trust you. But then suddenly he kind of lets up and a smile returns to his face. And he looks back towards Vixen and says, Well, it's been a pleasure meeting you. And I'm sure I'll see you around the city. I never forget a pretty face. And he gives you a wink and then stands up and heads back towards the bar.
Oh, fair enough.
But yeah.
You just make general chit chat, completely change the subject. Asking about what's it like in the city, where she was brought up. Just completely trying to just relax the situation and just draw attention away from us.
Okay. Give me a stealth check, please. Yeah. You're able to move the conversation in such a way that you kind of rejoin a sentence as if you were halfway through saying it earlier. To be like, oh yeah, so let's go back to and you notice a couple of times during your conversation while you're kind of finishing off the rest of the mead, you notice Victor kind of looking over from the bar, not necessarily in a particularly suspicious manner, but just kind of looking in your general direction and then looking back again. And you get the general impression that him and his compatriot are going to be there for a little while.
So, Vixen, should we? You wish to? Would you be able to show me around the city? I know parts of it, but there's parts. I mean, I'm not so familiar with the some of the stalls in the Adamantine Bazaar. Would you be willing to show me around if that's possible? Once we finish our drink, obviously.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, just relax. Just sort of sip the last bit of a drink. Don't want to. What I don't want to do is look like we're hurrying out to leave.
Oh, I'm in no hurry. I
Yeah.
always finish a drink.
Yeah, definitely. And I want the guard to try and at a point when I think the guard's relaxed enough, sort of finish the drink off and then sort of stand up and offer the hand, and we sort of walk out.
Okay. Make a perception check for me, please.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah. You're able to pretty easily. Basically, you wait for a point when Victor, in his very kind of macho way, announces that he needs to go and relieve himself, and stands up from the bar and walks out into the back alley. And you're able to pretty easily head out of there while he isn't there.
Okay, so when we leave, I want to obviously head towards Hawk, but want to take a more what's the word? Diverted route, sort of moving around. So I'm not going straight there. I'm sort of moving through, but trying to look relaxed, but also trying to make sure we're not being followed.
Just as we're leaving, I'm going to turn to you and go, "Why the hell did you kick me?"
Is this in the bar or outside?
We're outside. We're just heading. We're just outside.
In a harsh whisper, because two guards were just walking in, and we were talking about getting out of the city through obscure means, and I didn't want us to get arrested. That's why.
Yes, well, you could have told me. You could have made some sort of effort to let me know rather than kick me and take my mead.
Walking away from the inn as we're doing, yeah, that is why the barman took the mead to draw our attention to the two guards that had just come in. Unfortunately, with your back to the door, you could not see them. I could see the guards. I could see the barman. He's a good friend of mine. It was a signal.
God, no, signal.
I apologize. I do realise like a really extravagant bow. I do apologise for kicking you. It was not malicious. It was merely to draw your attention to the fact that I did not want to be arrested. May I please beg forgiveness?
You can have a pass this time, and next time, give me some warning that doesn't result in physical contact.
Okay, I will caw, or I shall wink in a unsubtle way, and I'll give her like a really, really cheesy, over the top wink. Like it's just like blatantly obvious I'm being an idiot, but it's kind of just to sort of chill things out a bit. Would that suffice?
It might.
Good. Right.
I got to finish my drink, so we're okay.
Oh well. Well, let's just say I owe you one, but not of that quality. That's too expensive. Yeah, so we basically head towards the Adamantine Bazaar again, but this time we're sort of going a bit of a more diverse route. And as I said, I just want to make sure we're not being followed. I don't trust that guy in any way, shape, or form. Victor.
Okay. Make a stealth check for me, please. I'll say with advantage.
Ooh, nice. Look.
Ooh.
Okay. So, how much damage do I take from walking into that wall?
How much meat did you drink?
Let me see.
They call this a point.
So, as you're leaving the bar, and continuing along this kind of serpentine route back towards Hawk's store, you notice just a couple times that you think that you might have been followed. You get the sense it's kind of like sixth sense thing where you feel like you're being followed, and then you turn around, but there's nothing there. There's no one there following you, but you definitely you get kind of a bit of the heebie-jeebies, but you can't be really sure.
You look a bit jittery. Is there a problem?
Possibly. Is it like a clothes store or like that sort of thing nearby?
Yeah. Let's say there's kind of a small store that sells what would normally be kind of work clothes, general stuff. also sells kind of some nicer robes and scarves and things like that.
Ah, just a store. Can we just peruse this for a while and sort of basically like go straight to the shop? So she's got no choice but to follow.
Can I use a perception check?
Yep. Yeah, looking around, you can't really tell very much. There's still a fair amount of bustle. Like things have started to kind of return to normal after the attack. People are kind of returning to their stores to make sure that there wasn't too much looted or anything. So there's quite a lot of bustle, quite a lot of noise. You're not really able to tell anything.
What if I sniff the air?
Hmm.
Use my little foxy instincts.
Let me see. Okay, here's the thing. I'd allow you to make another perception check using your, as you said, foxy instinct. However, to do so, you will need to transform just right here in public.
All right. Forget it.
Yeah, the thought crosses your mind for a second when you're just like, I could smell it out, and you're like, oh, no, not right now. That's a bad idea.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, Gimbal pulls you into this store. Um,
Basically, when we get into the shop and we've actually got in out of the main street, I'm just gonna grab the first thing that I think is roughly my size and just look at the shop assistant and then just say, I'm just gonna try this on. And is there like a changing area?
uh, I'll say there's kind of like a curtain hanging on a rail that you can kind of like put yourself behind. It doesn't hide particularly well, but it's something.
Sufficient enough. Okay, I'll go in there, just hang the clothes up, I'll put them to one side, and then I'll cast disguise self. I'm basically going to make myself look like a human, sort of fairly standard, like worker type. Nothing really
Okay.
different.
How tall are you?
I think I'm about 3'5", so I'll probably make myself about sort of 5, so fairly short. Yeah, so
Okay.
yeah,
Disguise self, you can make yourself up to a foot taller.
yeah. So enough different to different enough to not obviously be myself. So trying to think of a race that's. Do you get a lot of? Trying to think of a race that's about 4.5. Do you get a lot of deep dwarves or anything like that? That sort of.
Not so many. You'd get a few halflings around here. You'd get a few normal dwarves around here.
Okay, yeah, normal dwarf then, because that's tall enough and bulky enough to be significantly different from myself. And then I'll sort of walk out and just sort of just literally go out of the shop and just basically just have a quick just walk up the street as if I'm looking around, but just try and see if I can recognise anybody from the inn.
Okay. Give me a perception check, please.
Okay, trying to find it. No, that's not it. Oh, see, now I'm getting first confused. Start clicking stuff. Ah, here we go.
So after a while, you're able to using your new form, you're able to walk more openly, and you walk out of the store and around the corner a little bit, and you're able to see, trying to stand there, looking kind of, also looking like he's trying to peruse through some various different. In this case, he's at kind of like a little bookstall, and he's like holding a book and trying to turn the pages. But you can see that the book is clearly upside down. You can see Victor standing there, kind of occasionally peering up over and having a look around, and then looking back down at the book.
Cool. Okay, can I walk around the back of the shop to see if there's any rear exit from the shop? So, sort of walk past him, don't acknowledge him whatsoever, and then go off the side street and sort of circle round to the back of the shop.
Yeah. There is a kind of there's a wooden door set into kind of the clay wall that's at the back of the shop. Um, it appears to be currently closed and probably locked, but there is a back exit.
Okay, try and sort of just test it, see if it is locked. Never
Okay.
presume anything.
Yeah, when you try it, it is locked. It seems to be a fairly kind of flimsy padlock, but it's enough to kind of stop you.
Well, do I want to move up to breaking and entering, or entering the shop that's already open? Different. Um, um, yeah, try and force a lock.
Okay. Give me a. So when you're trying to force the lock, are you trying to do it in such a way that you're just kind of breaking the lock open, or are you trying to kind of like jam something in there to try and turn it?
I don't have any sort of, I mean, yeah, brute strength is not my forte. It's a case of sort of leaning against it and just trying to sort of force it, but not running at it to make a massive amount of noise. So I'm just not doing the obligatory fighting, just charging at it. So I'm sort of leaning against it, and then sort of pull back a bit, and then just try and push into it. So jimmying, I'm not. I don't have any sort of skills on that side.
Okay. Give me a dexterity check then, please. Oh yes. So as you're kind of rocking the pieces of this lock back and forth, you finally, as you're just about to get it to kind of pull open when it kind of snaps shut again, and then you realize that you have just like a tiny little piece of metal, um, which you'd found at some point and kind of kept in your various different travelers' things. And you slide it into the kind of the locking mechanism, and with that added leverage, you're able to kind of just almost silently break this lock open.
Perfect. Excellent. And then just sort of like move quickly, not running, but just sort of walk quickly into the back of the shop. And then as I'm going through, dispel the disguise self.
Okay. Yeah. So Vixen, what you see is from the kind of uh, the door that's at the back of this shop suddenly opens, and in walks a dwarf that then just kind of shifts in front of your eyes and becomes about a foot smaller, and then becomes Gimbal.
Vixen, quickly, this way.
Okay. I look at him quizzically and follow.
As she gets
Okay.
close, Victor's following us. I didn't trust him. I'll explain later. And then go to literally come out the back of the shop, and then head sort of not running, but moving sort of fairly at a fast pace. Well, for me, she's probably just walking normally. But
You'd
literally
be surprised.
yeah, then literally moving through the bazaar again, trying to get to Hawk, but you still not trusting anything, moving through a like little obscure route and sort of double backing on myself and all this sort of stuff.
Make a stealth check with advantage.
Oh, jeez.
So you are fairly convinced that in all of your kind of twists and turns, you've managed to leave Victor behind, and you arrive back at Hawk's stall, um, and as you arrive, um, Kada. Uh, so you have been um, scouting your way across rooftops, trying your best to stay unseen, um, and you've managed to make your way through various different bits of the Adamantine Bazaar, um, and you make your way to the familiar magic stall, um, filled with various different trinkets, to meet with um, your contact Hawk. Now, you've met Hawk a few times before. You kind of immediately gained kind of a rapport with Hawk, given that, as far as you know, you are pretty much the only two tieflings that live in Sakani.
Good to have a friend.
Yeah. So as you enter his stall, or as you approach his stall, he's standing kind of at the table out the front of his shop, and he's in the middle of kind of taking stock of various different items, trying to make sure that nothing's been stolen, it's too expensive. And yeah, he spots you just as you're approaching, and he kind of immediately stops what he's doing, and he raises a hand towards you, and he's just like, "Ah, Keita, it's good to see you again."
It's good to see you as well, Hawk. You got any interesting items for me today?
Oh, I'm sure there's something that might pique your interest. Why don't you come with me and we can have a look at my secret stash?
Sounds
and then
good.
he kind of taps his nose.
I'll just like smirk and follow him. Oh no, who have we lost?
Crystal.
Was that me?
Don't think so.
Who's
No.
disconnecting?
I don't know.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
anyway.
it's echoing through Tammy's for some reason.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. Oh, that seems to be better already.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, he leads you inside. You've been inside this tent a fair number of times, where he'll you've gone to him before for kind of information, and to try and he can try and put you in contact or send kind of discreet messages to places elsewhere in Escuria for you if you need them. So he's got kind of a little fire pit in the middle of the room, which is burning kind of low at the moment, but it's got a little kind of metal stand over the top of it that's holding a teapot. And he fetches the teapot and gets out a couple of cups and just says, "Would you like anything to drink? Tea? Something stronger?"
What is a tiefling's constitution like? If I have something alcoholic, is it going to affect me?
I'd say so. Yeah, it's slightly stronger than an average person's would be, I reckon. But yeah, like not enough that you'd really notice.
Okay. I will stick with the tea, please.
Of course. And he pours out a couple of cups. He's sat kind of cross-legged in front of the fire and puts one down next to him and gestures for you to take a seat.
So I'll sit with him and pick up my tea, and like offer it to Cheers.
Yeah. He says cheers, but he says it in infernal, so it sounds horrible. He's like, and then yeah. He drinks about kind of half of his cup, lets out a long sigh, and then he says, "So, I take it this is business, not pleasure."
I'm afraid so, my friend. I need your help.
Of course. What can I help you with today?
I've got about, well, at last count, I've got 4 people that I need to get out of the city.
4. Okay. You know, I know a couple of ways out of the city, but 4 people is a tall order for me. I know just the person. If you give me a few minutes, I'm sure I can muster something up.
Well,
No, stay a while. Drink the rest of your tea.
this
I'll
needs
make a
this
cup of-
needs to be discreet though, Hawk. Like we can't. No one can know that we're leaving, and unfortunately, it's a high-profile family, so they're going to be noticed if they're gone.
high profile.
Mhm.
So you'd need me to arrange for them to be transported from the Overlook, Shogunate Plaza.
Yeah, that
similar?
sort of area.
Okay. It's going to be difficult, potentially expensive, but I think that if they are people of means, as you say, I can figure that out. And
Yeah, I don't think money's an object. They just need to get out.
okay. Well, discretion is my middle name. He stands up and he walks over to a kind of wooden chest that he's got set out on the ground. He opens it up and rifles through a couple of items. A couple of times he kind of picks something up, has a brief look at it, and then like just chucks it over his shoulder onto the floor. And then eventually he just goes, "Ah, yes, this will do." And he gets out a small piece of wire, and then places it up to his ear, and he starts to whisper. Um, and then Gimbal, as you're approaching um, Hawk's store again, you hear inside your head the familiar voice of Hawk saying, "I think I have some customers for you. Sorry if I caught you at a unopportune moment, but if you could be so kind as to return, I have an interesting business proposition for you."
Do I know, has he used this before so I can reply?
He's used it before, and you know that you can reply to it.
Funny enough, I'm on my way, be with him shortly.
So yeah, around about this time, rushing hooves. You are in the midst of making your way through the Adamantine Bazaar, on your way towards the Blade Pit, when something catches your eye. Something very suspicious. You see a dagger which has been planted into the wall, and around it there appears to be a series of glowing sigils. What do you do?
Can I do an Arcana check on the symbols?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not very well.
They appear to be some kind of writing. You can't tell very much else. You get the vague sense that these aren't really supposed to be functional so much as they're supposed to be flashy. Because you can't really, you can't really tell any specifics of what the sigils are. You can see on a closer inspection that trailing down from the dagger, there's kind of two red ribbons which flow gently down, and you can see in various different languages. You can see in Undercommon, you can see written in Sylvan, you can see it written in Draconic, and you can see it's the same in all of them. You can see the words freedom today, freedom tomorrow, freedom forever. You recognize this. You know that this is a calling card of someone from the Ascendancy. And you know that that means that nearby there is someone who you can contact from the Ascendancy. What do you want to do?
I'd like to look around for the Ascendancy contact.
Okay. So having been told this is one of the signals, you're able to pull the dagger out of the wall and lay it flat in your palm, and it kind of begins to spin a little bit, kind of like a compass, and it points in a direction in the Adamantine Bazaar.
I'm gonna follow the dagger then.
Okay. So yeah, as you follow this dagger, it leads you down. It seems to be less pointing in an absolute direction and more kind of Google Mapsy, showing you the direction to go now, and then when you get to like an intersection, it will turn and point in the direction you need to go next. So you don't get like a clear idea of where exactly you're going, but you're able to follow it fairly well, I'd say. Give me a. Oh, what would I want for this one? Um, um, Give me a survival check. Yeah, it's very difficult for you to kind of keep your bearings and keep an idea of an absolute direction that you're going, and you're pretty sure a few times that it's kind of taking you in a direction where you've already been. You realize it takes you probably about 20 minutes longer than it should do, because you kind of end up going down dead ends and not quite following the directions exactly. Kind of in your haste to get there, you end up doing the thing where you kind of like galloping and you're like, oh, I missed a turning. I need to go back. But eventually, you're able to reach. It appears to kind of rest and begin to quiver in your hand and point into the direction of this small, kind of canopied store. And on it there appear to be various different items that seemingly are completely unrelated on the table outside the front of it. And there doesn't seem to be anyone who's visibly kind of minding the shop at this point. So yeah, what do you do?
I'd like to go inside.
Okay. So yeah, you're able to navigate around the table which is set out up front. It's a little difficult for you because you have to kind of duck under this canopy. So
A
it's
bit tall.
yeah, it's kind of odd. It kind of looks like you're doing like a half horse limbo maneuver where you're like bending your back down to try and be as straight as possible. But you're kind of used to having to do that at this point. And as you walk into the kind of the store, you see there's a mint green tiefling who's standing on kind of looking towards the entrance, and you also see a smaller female tiefling who's sat down by the fire. Do either you or Akeda want to do anything?
I'm gonna jump to my feet and
Okay.
just sort of stand in a defensive position, like ready to grab my weapons if I need to.
Mm-hmm. Rushing hooves, do you do anything?
It's all right. I'm not gonna fight you. I've had enough fighting today.
At this point, the mint green tiefling, he kind of in a semi kind of dancing step inserts himself in between the two of you, kind of holding up a hand to either of you and being like, it's okay, we're all friends here. Kada, you can be calm now, it's fine. And then he walks over to you and he looks at the dagger, and he looks up at you and just says, welcome, brother. It is good to see another one of us here in the city. What brings you here?
In truth, I've grown bored of sitting and studying scrolls all day, and I'd like a little bit more excitement and something more positive to do with my time.
Well, I'm sure we can find good use for someone who has your talents he looks at the kind of the clothing that you're wearing on your upper half, and he's just like, the Order of the Four Ways, I believe.
Yes, that's the monastery from which I have recently left to seek a new life.
Well, I'm certain that we can find use for someone with your training. You know, there are opportunities everywhere in the Ascendancy. Perhaps you can be of assistance with something a little closer to home first, though. At this point, let's say that Gimbal and Vixen, you return to Hawk's store at this point. And yeah, walking in, you are greeted with two people that you have never seen before. What do you guys want to do?
Instantly move to a position where I've got something behind me, but obviously staying fairly close to Vixen because she sort of earned my trust now so far. So sort of maybe moving with the tent behind me, but next to her, so she's in the doorway.
I'm going to do a similar thing, but put my back against the back side of the tent and put my hand on my knife.
Seeing this, I'm grabbing my mace and like, bring it.
Before you do that, Kada, can you give me a sleight of hand check?
Yeah. Bear with. Roll Tony's being so slow. Sleight of hand.
Yep. Oof.
With advantage?
So, yeah. Not so much.
I think everyone's a bit suspicious.
So yeah, you're trying to kind of subtly reach for one of the knives that you have concealed on your person, and Vixen, you very clearly see her do that, so you're able to pull up your mace.
It's fine. Like, I wasn't even trying to be subtle about it. I just want to be ready to defend myself.
Okay. At this point, Hawk seems to be a little bit kind of dismayed at this whole situation, and he's just like, if everybody could please put the weapons away, this is in fact my home. I don't like cleaning bloodstains out of the carpet. It takes a long time. Everybody, calm down. I will make a cup of tea, and we can have a long discussion about how we can all help each other. Okay?
It's all good. I trust you, Hawk. I've not actually reached for any weapons, but my hands aren't far away from them, but I've not reached for any.
If none of you like make any movements, he moves to sit down and continue drinking his cup of tea.
I'll take something stronger, please, Hawk.
Of course, of course. He gestures towards this. There's a shelf, like almost like a bookcase that's freestanding near one of the walls of the tent, and he just says, "Help yourself to anything you like."
No, I practically skipped
dangerous.
that.
he actually, as you're about to, he goes, "Oh no, not the blue one. That's poison. Don't drink that."
Good to know.
Hawk, are you okay here for a couple of minutes? I'll be right back.
Yes, of course.
I disguise self again. Same sort of dwarf, different, maybe a dwarf as before, but completely different style of clothes. Don't want no resemblance to the previous dwarf at all. Maybe having the robes with like a long white beard and just like a that's it. Yeah, just some more of a stately dwarf, and then I'll just sort of subtly just slip out. And what I'm going to do is just going to spend just a few minutes just basically circling around the bazaar just to make sure I can't see Victor anywhere near the tent.
Okay. Give me a perception check, please.
Okay. Oh, yeah, sorry. Still trying to figure out a way around this system advantage? It's worth a try.
You do a few circles kind of around the general area, and you don't get the sense that there's anyone who's paying any particular attention um to Hawk's tent or to any of the area around it. You see a few people who kind of stop outside the tent and have a look at some of the wares on the table and examine them, but nothing. No one stays for very long.
Okay. Well, if you want to see what everyone else does while I'm out in the tent, that's cool.
Hmm. Okay. So, Hawk kind of goes around the circle, making sure that everyone has any drinks that they would like, and then first of all he basically kind of drains the rest of his cup of tea and pours himself a new one, and then says, "It is a fortuitous day. So many have come to me who have the desire to change, the desire to find something new in their lives. And today of all days, an old friend has returned to me, who is offering just such a thing. So, well, my old friend Gimbal here, he is a traveler of sorts. He can take people from location to location for a small fee. He knows the safe routes to travel by foot, by sea, by horseback, and I think that he can help with this situation that you have, Kader.
Well,
I believe he
that's
has
all very
already.
well, but how do I know I can trust him?
Please, Kader. You know me. I don't trust people, but I trust him. He has proved himself capable. And what's more, he and I are of the same mind that freedom is important. And if he can help others attain freedom, then he will. I have never known him to back out on a deal. I don't think he's going to start now. Especially not if there's a fair amount of coin in it for him, of course.
I just like nod and fold my arms.
Now, as for you, my four-legged friend, you say that you are looking for something a bit more adventurous. Well, I think a little bit of travel, seeing the world, putting those hooves to good use. I'm sure you can be of assistance to our friends in this endeavor, if you so wish.
Hold on a minute. You just said that getting 4 people out of this city would be difficult. Getting 4 people and a fucking centaur out of the city is going to be near impossible.
4 people is difficult for me. For my friend Gimbal here, it is Tuesday.
Well, I'm in as long as I don't have to get my bloody and no one wants to try and ride me.
Well, I can't promise anything about that second one, but I'm sure if you tell them what the consequences are, no one's going to question that. Well, I think we have a pleasant solution here. He raises his cup again, and again in infernal says cheers.
Oh, I will pick up my tea and cheers him back in Infernal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't cheers because at this point I have no idea what's happening.
Yeah, you've just heard them both be like.
I look at them confused. little bit horrified.
I'm also edging slowly away. Boy, over here. Just sort of scooching in my seat further away.
Mhm. At this point, Gimbal, you re-enter the tent and you see. It seems as though a tentative deal has been made, and we see you kind of react to this kind of pleasantly. A small smile comes across your face, and as the camera is focusing on you, we see in the background, just looking on from the shadows, we can see Victor,
Oh no.
and that's where we're going to leave it. For
No, I quite like Victor. He gave me my drink
He's
back.
going down. He's going down.
He was somewhat flirtatious. I got no problem with Victor.
He sounded kind of cute from the description.
Not really my type, but
Oh, fair enough.
he might be Vixen's.
That's true.
Yeah, we'll find out, I'm sure. Okay,
Got
well,
myself.
thank you very much for coming to see us on the stream today, guys. We hope you enjoyed it very much, and that you'll be back with us to continue the story next time. As I said at the beginning, I'll just repeat again. This is in association with Horsham Gamers. We are a local group doing everything from board gaming and D&D to digital events and esports and such. You can find us on Facebook by searching for Horsham Gamers. We also have a Discord channel called Horsham Gamers as well. And you can come and have a chat with us, join the community, and see what wonderful gaming things we have going on here in the larger Horsham area. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you all of the players for playing, and we'll see you next time.